My name is Kendra Ivins. I'm the Director of Residence Life, and I'm here to moderate and introduce this wonderful group of people who are going to answer all of your questions about class registration for the fall. This is our third of 5 Terrier Talks. The next ones that we will have are on July 9th. What about, and on August 15th about move-in and orientation. Just as a quick note, if you have not looked at your FYI portal, make sure to review the recent due dates. We had modern language placement on June 1. We had June 15th. Some of the notable ones are your emergency contact due date. Finalizing housing accommodations. So if you need any accommodations, that would have been due June 15th. Immunization and medical history, t-shirt size, and phone update. A couple things to look forward to coming in the next 8 days are your ID photo need to be submitted. Your housing application needs to be submitted if you want to live on campus, and you need to create a roommate group, and then your financial aid form. So that's a couple things to look forward to. But today we are going to go over your planning for your class schedule. So I will let the wonderful group of people here on your screen introduce themselves and begin their information.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this second summer advising meeting for all of our incoming students and their supporters. We are so happy that you have joined us today. My name is Dr. Cynthia Curry, the Director of Academic Advising. We also have Dr. Stephanie Baker, Professor of Biology, Professor Lillian Gonzalez, Professor of Accounting, and Dr. Boyce Lawton, the Dean of Student Success. And again, as I've stated, we are the summer advising team, and we can be reached at advising@wofford.edu to answer your questions and also to provide some information to you regarding registration for fall 24. And fall 24 registration will begin on July 23rd and also July 25th.
All right, I'm happy to be here with you all and look forward to working with you. During today's Terrier Talk, we're going to focus on making sure students' class schedule plans are approved and that students are prepared to register on July 23rd through the 26th. It's important to remember that, okay, this is important, until the plan is approved by one of us and the students advising holds are released. Students will not be able to register for fall classes on July 23rd and on July 25th. So that's really important. So in our time together today, we'll review the guidance and resources you will need to prepare and to walk through the registration timeline. Let's look at this slide here. First thing there is communicate with advisors. This is a really good place to begin. Between now and registration, it's essential that students check their wofford.edu email accounts, respond to advisors' emails, and communicate with us when questions or concerns arise. Write to us, the summer advising team, at advising@wofford.edu when you have questions. What about the resources that you will come to rely on? Well, to successfully prepare a class schedule plan to get ready for registration, we're going to point you to the 4 resources you see here. FYI tab of My Wofford, the new student guide box you'll find there, the student tab of My Wofford, your wofford.edu email account, since it gives you access to your information, and the fall 2024 interactive course schedule, an extremely useful resource as you plan for a schedule. It will show you things like class dates, times, prerequisites, the number of seats available, and whether it's an appropriate level course for first-year students. Summer registration timeline. We will review the timeline with you so that you can be aware of some important dates and deadlines. We will hear more about putting your class schedule plan together. And finally, we will hear about registration, which happens in 2 rounds on July 23rd and July 25th. At the end of this meeting, we'll cover a few questions that we've received in the past and then open the chat for other questions. Okay, let's continue on to the next slide. This slide provides an overview of where do I start. Remember that the FYI tab is your starting point for information. You will see the link for that on the left-hand side. think the fifth link down, perhaps. The new student guide has drawers that take you to important information on the new student information page when you click the pluses. The July registration link takes you to the information you need. You see that on the right hand, I believe on the right hand side of the slide there. The information includes how to create a class schedule plan and how to register for classes after your plan has been approved. Use your wofford.edu email address. It's linked in the left margin of each of my Wofford tab, the same place where you see the FYI tab. It's towards the bottom. Check that account every day and use it to communicate with advisors. We look forward to being a resource to you between now and then. Now let's take a look at the summer 2024 calendar. As registration approaches, keeping track of dates and responsibilities is essential to making sure that you are prepared. The overview calendar you see here focuses on the registration dates. A more detailed student calendar is on the student checklist of the FYI tab. You can print a copy of that calendar if you prefer to have it for yourself or to share it with your families. If you haven't completed the advising questionnaire, please do so as soon as possible. The summer advising team will rely on the information you provide to be able to guide you well. Class schedule plans are due on the 15th of July, so if you haven't submitted a class schedule plan or you need to revise your plan, please do that soon. On July 23rd, just before 11 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, log in for the first round of registration. You will register for up to 5 credit hours, which generally is one academic course and one that matters to you the most, or the one that matters to you the most. You want to start there, but we'll talk more about that later. On July 25th, just before 11 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, log in again for the second round, and you'll add courses with the goal of reaching 13 to 16 credit hours total. To talk more about putting your class schedule plan together, I'm going to turn things over to Dr. Baker.
Hey, thank you, Professor Gonzalez. So I'm going to talk a little bit about completing your class schedule plan. So to do this, you are going to create your first choice plan that has 13 to 16 credit hours for the fall. And you want to make sure that this plan contains 3 courses, FYI 101, your LEBA 101, and preferably a language course. So you need to have 3 things for your plan that we're going to be looking for: FYI 101, LEBA 101, and 13 to 16 hours. And again, we strongly recommend having your language course. So you're going to put this together and submit it for review by July 15th. We will review it and let you know if it's been approved. So what we're looking for there is that you successfully navigated the process and turned in a plan that will work. But once you have submitted your plan, you're not finished yet. But to find the information for this, you're going to use information in the July registration link of the student guide, and to learn what is my language placement, and then to submit your class schedule plan. At the July registration link, you'll find all kinds of extensive information. There's going to be instructions, links to resources, a video that Dr. Lawton put together to take you step by step through how to create your class schedule plan. As I said, we'll review that plan after you submit it, and once it's been submitted, we will release your advising hold. You need to check your wofford.edu email, as both Dr. Curry and Professor Gonzalez have emphasized, every day to look for notes from us. So you'll either get an email that says your course schedule plan was approved and here are the next steps to get you ready for registration, or you'll get a note that says that we've reviewed your class schedule plan and perhaps we spotted a problem or we have a suggestion for a change that needs to be made. Now, keep in mind that once we approve your plan, that does not mean that you are registered for classes. It just means that you have demonstrated to us that you can navigate this process. You do need to have backup plans in case sections fill up on the actual registration day. If you have questions about your plan, for example, an error message, please write to us at the advising at wofford.edu. So when you plan and register, again, let's make sure that you include the appropriate courses. Everybody has to have a LEBA 101. This course emphasizes the development of the 4 key capacities for students transitioning to college, and there are many sections of this to accommodate all of our new students. So you can look at the topics for the sections to decide which one would work best for you. Again, make sure you have backups because there are over 400 new students and only about 16 spots in each LEBA 101. So make sure you have a list of options. Same is true for FYI 101. This has a common curriculum for all sections, and you need to just pick one that fits best with your schedule with the time of day. And then, as I said earlier, the Department of Modern Languages, Literatures, and Cultures recommends that students register for language in their first semester. Students are placed into the language course based on a placement test, which everyone should have already completed by June 1st. If you haven't completed that, you need to do so as soon as possible. So that's one part. It's also based on the number of years of experience with the language and the level of academic success in earlier courses. So please check the links in the FYI tab and the new student information page for videos and other information, and then write to us at advising@wofford.edu if you have questions. So as you're preparing your plan, you may see that there are some courses that are combined together into what's called a learning community. This is a high impact practice as designated as such by the American Association of Colleges and Universities. And this is where we're going to put 2 classes together, and you'll have a cohort of students who will be in these 2 classes together. There are descriptions linked in the July registration drawer, but I'll give you just a quick rundown of some of the topics. One is called Climate Roots and Resilience, and that pairs a philosophy class about climate with a Spanish class. In order to do this one, your placement has to be Spanish 303 for your modern language. Another is called Exploration of College Student Development, and it pairs a LEBA 101 called College Student Development with an FYI 101. Another is called Lunar Dreams, and that pairs LEBA 101 with an FYI 101. And then another is called Technoculture from the World Wide Web to AI, and that pairs a studio art class with the LEBA 101. So both of the courses that are in the learning communities will satisfy general education requirements. And if you decide to do a learning community, first you need to apply for it, and then make sure in your class schedule plan that you have the 2 courses that are linked together on your plan. Okay, and I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Lawton, who is muted.
Dr. Lawton, I don't know that they're able to hear you because I think you're muted still.
So let's try this for the 3rd time. I saw Professor Gonzalez laughing down there, but I thought I had unmuted. So one thing that a lot of students have questions about is which math course should they take? And I want to say first, you do not have to take a math course in your first semester at Wofford. Pretty much, you do not have to take a math course in your first semester at Wofford. So for the general student, you're generally going to be starting in Math 120, Math 140, Math 170, or Math 181. I'm going to go a little bit out of order. The most commonly taken course by Wofford students in the math department is Math 140, which is statistics. That is a course that requires no prerequisites. It's mostly algebra based. Depending on your professor, you'll use different tools to work with mathematics. Math 140 is required for students majoring in accounting, finance, economics, business economics. For students who are planning to go to medical school or most of the pre-health, allied health fields would all need a statistics course. So that's important to remember. It's just something you need to take. Math 120 is just a general introduction to mathematics and the liberal arts. It's kind of a more of an esoteric beauty of mathematics course. That's great if you want to be an English major and you don't That's nice. Did I just black out on everybody's screen? Can you still see the slide?
No, all we can see right now is the
Sign-in
approval
request?
sign in. Yeah.
Hold on. I'm the tech guy. Wash fingers. Are we back? Okay, so Math 120 would be great if you are an English major or you are a history major or things like that. But I would say even then, if you're majoring in history or government or English and you're thinking about law school does not require statistics, but I kind of want my lawyer to know how to do some statistics. So, you know, think about what you're going to take when you take those. Math 181 is calculus. Calculus is required for math majors. Calculus is required for chemistry majors and physics majors. Calculus is required for a Bachelor of Science in Economics for those majors. But often students may not have had a good background in calculus in high school. And so Math 170 is there especially for students who want a little bit more work on changing functions and modeling functions, and it has some pre-calculus built into it, although it is not a pre-calculus course. So if you're not really comfortable going into calculus, but you need it, you might want to consider taking Math 170. And I want to add a special note for people who are interested in physics and pre-engineering. We generally will look at your course schedule plan very closely and make sure you're getting a strong start in the math courses you need, because both of those fields are so heavily mathematically based. Please write us with questions about this. And again, 90% of you will end up taking statistics at Wofford. But for those of you who need another course, that's really important. A lot of students come in thinking from possibly parents or grandparents that anybody going to medical school needs calculus. That's generally not true. Sometimes, but generally for most of the schools around here, that's not true. So we don't want you to get into a course that maybe is going to be harder than something you need to take when you do that. Okay, so that's math. There is more information available, and we missed changing a fall 2023 to fall 2024. There's more information available in the new student information webpage, and I'm going to head there next. So if I can, there we go. Okay, so I'm on the FY page, and where I want to go next is the new student information tab. When I'm in here, I can go to July registration, and then I'll see a whole lot of information. Class schedule plan and registration are two very good ones to look at. So when I hit the class registration plan, we can see this is what you need for general education courses at Wofford. I can't remember if it was, I think Dr. Baker was talking about LEBA 101 course descriptions. So every section has a different description. And you'll see in the top, this is a learning community course. So that's one you actually have to apply for. But when I go down here, climate justice, beauty, and hope. And so it tells you all about it. Theater justice, a good death, German pop culture. So you're going to find one that really resonates with you. As we have said, I think in both of our Terrier talks so far, you need to make sure that you have a number that are interested to you. Years ago, we had a course called The Power of Humor. Great title. It was a new professor, so nobody knew that the teacher was good or bad. It'd never been taught before. The beauty of coming to Wofford is that your LEBA 101 course has 16 students. We had 200 something students who put that as their first choice, which means 200 and something students were upset. So really, really pick 5 or 6 that sound like good options for you. Know that you may or may not get the one you want, but these teachers teach other courses that you can take for gen ed requirements. So you may not get this one, but you'll get another one in there. So LEBA 101 course descriptions. Your modern language placement. Again, everybody should have taken that test by now. I enter those in daily. The language department is behind on about 30 of you because someone was out of the country last week, but those should be coming in soon. And then review the AP, Cambridge, CLEP, dual enrollment, and IB information. That will map out exactly what credit you can expect for what score. A general overview with AP is we don't give credit for less than a 4 unless you take BC Calculus where we would give you credit for a 3, but only for BC calculus, not AB calculus. If there are any of you on the call from Lucy Beckham or Aiken, and I think there's a third school in South Carolina now. We've just started with Cambridge Credit a few years ago. I think Aiken came first and Lucy Beckham came second. So we have a map of what we would get credit for as well. Course recommendations by major. This is really important. A lot of majors have no course recommendation. English is just take LIBA 101, which every student is required for. These are recommendations. They're not necessities, unless probably I want to be in chemistry or biology, a hard science or a language. Then it's more important. Everything else, it's okay to wait a semester to get into your major. But look at those and see what makes sense. Ask questions of us. That's why we're here. Math course recommendations. And then we talked about the interactive course schedule, which I'm going to show you exactly how to get there in the video. This is really helpful. This usually gets viewed 800 to 900 times. How do I make my course schedule plan? So we go through all the nuts and bolts of exactly what buttons to push. And so that's a very important one to look at. All right, I'm going to go back over here. I'm going to leave the FY tab. Well, not yet. I'm not going to leave the FY tab. We looked at the different drawers. So if I want to open up the July drawer, I can click read more in my class schedule plan. I can click step-by-step in registration. If I'm interested in a learning community, click on read more, and that'll take you to the descriptions and the link. All this is in here. Sometimes clicking on the top word takes you to a different place than clicking on read more. So I'd always recommend clicking on read more first, and that'll help there. Okay, so we're going to switch over to the student tab. This, I think, became available to incoming students on July 1st. So if you haven't looked at this page in a while, you may not have seen this tab. Coming down to registration, you see several different types of schedules. First, I want to click on the interactive course schedule. I think overall, this is the easiest way to look for classes that are available to you. Before you get upset and like, I wanted that class and it was full, go ahead and filter by, are there seats available? Then you're not going to look at classes that have filled up by upperclassmen. And then look for courses that are first year friendly. We always have multiple students try to register for Government 450. 400 level means it's pretty advanced. You don't want to be in that course. So you want to register for courses by and large that have a first year friendly attribute on there. If there's a course you're curious about, ask us at advising@wofford.edu. You can see here that this fulfills a cultures and peoples requirement, a social science requirement, a fine arts requirement. All these things are in there, but the one that I have filtered for is first year friendly. Over here, it says there's a maximum of 24 students. 17 continuing students have already registered. There are 7 seats available. If you are curious about how much do the books cost or things like that, you can click on the books link. It'll show you exactly what text you'd be reading for that course and what the price would be at the Wofford bookstore. And I'll tell everybody, always in your college career, shop around for the same books from different locations, but make sure you're getting the same book and all the software associated with it. You can filter for, I need a course in bio, and I want a Bio 150 course. And again, my filter is that they only have seats available. And you'll see lots of things in here. There are lots of sections. A goes with a lab. I cannot register for the lecture for A and the lab with B. So that's another common mistake students will make. If the course and the lab both have the same letter, then you can register for them together. So those are important. When you're doing this for registration day, this page updates if you refresh it. So I'll have it here at 419. It's still 419, but every few minutes, and that frequency decreases or increases as we get closer to registration. It'll be updating every minute or two, so make sure you hit refresh. So that's my favorite way to look for classes. Another great way to look for classes is right above it, the class schedule for fall 2024. This is a PDF, and it lets me look. Let's see if I can make this bigger. It lets me look very quickly at all the sections are available. People used to look at these and say there's nothing open. Green means open. So if you can see that's a green font over here, that means there's space available. These aren't first year friendly courses and they have prerequisites, but those are, this is how I search for things by looking through the list like this. Again, there is a data date. It says 4:20 p.m. If I click this probably again now, 4:25 p.m. So it's already updated. So make sure as you're registering that things are going on there. So those two links are super important. The class schedule as a PDF and or the class schedule as an interactive thing. When you are ready to make your class schedule plan, you're going to hit the registration, to click into the registration system, even though you're just planning. So you're going to click here. I'm going to come over. Now I've got to redo a bookmark. So give me just a second. I'm talking too long, and so this blows up. I'm going to show my bookmarks bar. There. Okay, so when you click the registration button, it'll pop into a registration screen that looks just like this. I had to fake it because this one has me pretending to be a student, which I am not. You're going to go to plan ahead. Very important. When you register, you're going to register, but you're going to go to plan ahead. And then we all love dual authentication. If nothing else, we're pretty secure at Wofford College. So I'm dual authenticating on my phone. Okay. So plan ahead. I'm going to pick that I'm registering for the fall 2024 semester. What I think is a whole lot easier, I'm going to delete that plan and start over. Okay, so I'm going to create a new plan. All of you are taking LIBA 101. So I would start typing LIBA 101, hit search. I show this on the video as well. Never, ever, ever, ever click add course. Add course means I know I want to take some section of that, but I don't know I don't know what section. You could be getting courses that we have no sections offered. So we'll be able to spot that on our side, but that's the #1 error, which is why I put big red X's in the videos. Don't click this button. Click view sections. And then it shows me everything there. It's much easier to figure out the section I want first by filtering on the interactive schedule. I know I want section CC. So over here, I'm going to jump down to CC. I'm going to add that course. It says it's pending. It's pending on my plan, not pending registration. When I know I want that, I'm going to hit Save Plan. I'll name my plan something like Fall 2024. And then you'll see it appear over here. So that's saved in my plan. I'll just come back through and say I wanted to search again. I know that I also have to take FYI 101, so I'll type FYI 101, I search. Do not hit add course, hit view sections. And then I want to pick, and so like when you're looking to learning community, I have to apply for that, right? Learning community, I have to apply for that. So look for one that's not that way. I do that, I save it. It's appeared on my plan over here as well. So now I can start to see how does my day flow together. One thing that we see tons of questions for every year, if people are only looking at the schedule that pops up in this portal, they see 16 out of 16 and they get nervous and they say all the seats are taken. That's not true. If you hover over it, it says 16 out of 16 seats are remaining because only first-year students are registering for FY 101 and none of you had registered yet. And so that's another reason I think this is good over here because it says 16 is the max. Nobody's in the course. There's 16 available. So just be careful with those. Okay. So I want to go back. And of course, lost my presentation. I'm going to go, give me 1 second. I have to hop on my email. If anybody else wants to fill in while I'm fixing this. That's to all the other people in the peanut gallery. Y'all are supposed to be talking now.
I would say one of the things too that we get nervous for you all when you're doing your course schedule plan is when we see course schedule plans where there's only one seat in the course already before registration. So do go ahead and look at that too if you really want to maximize like your chances of getting your best schedule that you can get, because that one seat will go very, very quickly.
Got
And
it.
I would like to add also, just again, if we, as we've said several times now, please be sure to communicate with us through your Wofford email account. So that way we can make sure that you're you and answer those specific questions.
Okay, I'm back. We're going to go back to the show. Okay, and so then the only other thing, once your plan is ready, this is another big thing. So you've saved it. When you're done with it, it doesn't let us know, because there's no way we could know, are you still working or are you finished? So when you're done, go back to FYI and click this button right here. Schedule plan is ready for review. That alerts the 4 of us that you're looking at right now and says, go look at my plan and see how does it look. So you click that button. It would show you first, do you have any errors on your plan? If you do, it's not going to let you submit it. If you don't, it's going to let you submit it. That's what signals us that that's happening. And then the big thing from there, you have submitted your plan for review, which is very, very different than your plan has been approved. So that's when you need to check your email every single day, because we are doing our best. But the reality is most students are going to submit their plans between July 7th and July 15th. And 4 of us are looking at 400 plans, and we're only so fast. So keep looking, keep checking back. It may be frustrating. It will be frustrating, because you're going to register for something and we're going to say that's not first year friendly, or you're going to put it on your plan, it's not first year friendly. You're going to put a physics class on your plan and say, I want to be a physics major, and we'll say, well, that one's not for physics majors, let's change it to something else. So we're doing our best to help. You're going to need to check your email a bunch of times a day. The last thing I'll say there, you can always check your email by clicking right here, but I would really, really encourage you to go down here in this space and set up your mobile email so that you can check on your phone wherever you are. And then have that so that you're looking at that very often after you submit your plan, until we send you an email saying that it's been approved, and then you're good to go. Okay. I think that's it for me. And so let's move on. Oh, one more slide for me. Okay. When you're working on your plan and you get ready to submit it, you're likely going to see error messages. And those error messages, let's hit this again. Those error messages might say missing a CRN. Missing CRN means you clicked add course, but you didn't add a section of that course. You might see missing linked course, and that would say I'm taking Bio 150, which has a mandatory lab associated with it, but I didn't put that lab on my plan. You might see an instructor permission for a language, and I'll go ahead and call this one. You will be placed into a language course. The vast majority of incoming students will be placed into Spanish 201. If you try to register for Spanish 101, it's going to say you don't have permission to take that course because they put you up higher. So make sure you're doing the right one there. A learning community was selected, but without an application. So pay attention to those learning community courses. They have an LC attribute next to them. Make sure you apply. Prerequisite course needed. So you're trying to register for Government 330, but you didn't take Government 201, which is a prerequisite. You're trying to register for Calculus 2, but you don't have credit for Calculus 1. Time conflicts, obvious. Capacity error. It says there are no seats available. Because there are no seats available, you can't take that course. And so if you're trying to register for something that is full, it's not going to let you. Common things that people don't realize. Business courses at Wofford are filled up long before first-year students register, and often before second-year students register. Accounting classes, maybe one person's going to drop a class over the summer, but almost 0 students take Accounting 211 in their first semester. So those, they're going to be full. That's okay. We know how to get you out of here in 4 years. So when you see an error, rethink, update, revise, choose, reconsider, resubmit your plan. When you're done, make sure you hit submit every time. So we need to go, we know to go look at those things. Okay. Now I'm finished. So passing it back to Dr. Curry. Who I can't hear.
Okay, I'm sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right, and so thank you so much. We know that we've given you a lot of information. The summer advising team has given you a lot of information, but there are just a few more things that I want to remind you of before we end our presentation. First and foremost, there will be 2 rounds of registration. Round 1 begins on July 23rd at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. You can register for up to 5 credits. That's 1 academic course, and then a 1-hour course if you want to add it. Now, some courses are 3 hours, like the Legal 101 or French 101, for example. We also have some of the 4-hour courses, like a lab science. But this first round allows you to try to register for the course that you want the most. Your chances of getting into the course are stronger on this day, but please note that it is not guaranteed. So, for example, if you're a student athlete and your team has preferred lab days, definitely you want to register for your lab science in round 1 for the best chance of getting the seat in the lab that works for you or your athletic schedule. Or if you're considering a major in science, then beginning with an appropriate course in the first semester is also recommended, sometimes required. So these courses, along with your math courses, are popular, and we recommend registering for those courses in the first round. Or if you have a course that you really want to take, like a specific section of the Legal 101, then round 1 is also the best time to register for the course. Now, round 2 will begin on July 25th, which is Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And this registration also goes fast. So again, the more popular classes will fill in seconds. So you just need to be prepared with your backup classes and courses so that you can substitute your next choice without having to go back to the schedule and search for more options. And finally, again, we just want to remind you that there will be a third Terrier Talk on July 9th at 4 p.m., where we'll offer more detailed talks about your tips for registration. So, last but not least, please follow the directions for creating the class schedule plan from the FYI tab. Please join us on July 9th for Keys to a Successful Registration, which will start at 4 p.m. And again, as we've all mentioned, please be sure to write to us at the advising@wofford.edu email with any questions. And again, please check your Wofford email every day, because now that we're getting close to the registration deadline and registration opening, they will be sending out important dates and reminders. So at this time, we would like to thank everyone for attending, and we'll open up the chat for questions.
All right, I see a couple questions here, so I'll read them out if we want to answer those. The first one is, does it make sense to wait until AP scores are released on July 8th to complete the class schedule plan? Or should we do a plan A, scores meet Wofford requirements, and a plan B, scores do not meet Wofford requirements, and go ahead and submit the plan earlier?
I think there's not a best answer for that. What we normally see happen is that students will submit a plan, either not have it approved until those things are coming, or submit a plan with the alternatives as if they didn't, as if they weren't going to get credit for those. That's going to be more complicated for things like calculus and chemistry credit and those types of things. It won't matter so much probably for your history credit and things like that. If you are pretty confident that you're going to get credit, like if you've made 100 in every BC calculus test all the way through, you're probably going to do just fine on the AP test. I would probably get my plan all constructed and I would have it ready to go, but I may not hit the submit button until July 8th. But I'd say just as many or more people do it the other way. Your dual enrollment and other scores are likely already here. We haven't said that again today, but if you have dual enrollment credit, you must send the transcript from your college to Wofford. You can do that electronically. Your high school transcript will not move your dual enrollment credit here. Those can happen. Some of you have already submitted AP scores from prior years. If you haven't, do not pay to send it twice, right? But if you had already sent it long ago, we've got your scores from junior year and sophomore year. The others will arrive on July the 8th, we think, and somebody asked me that this morning. Sometimes scores come to colleges 24 hours in advance before the students see them. Sometimes scores come to Wofford 24 hours after the students have seen them. But our computer system picks up all those scores every night automatically, and the registrar will send an email out within 24, 48 hours of receiving them saying that you've gotten them. So I think follow your gut on that is my best advice, and be prepared for what would happen if you didn't get the credit.
All right, next question is, when will this be available to view again, and can we access? That's a great question. So we generally are able to get, I'm assuming that's the video recording. We would have that sent to IT to add, and you can see here the Terrier Talks once they're completed. That's where we put some recordings up, so you can see the past ones up. So it'll be on your FYI tab, and you'll see under the past ones, those are the recordings of our past ones. It should be up there likely by end of day tomorrow. And so that's how you'll view them, and you can view all of the past ones there. And the next one is, how do you apply for the Living Learning Community?
And not living.
For the learning community.
Kendra's our director of housing.
Sorry.
So they used to be living learning. Now it's just learning community. So I would go to July, and then I would hit learning communities and read more. And there's some other benefits to registering for learning community that we haven't even said out loud yet, but that you can read in here. You can see everything there. Make sure you read the description. And the number one thing that may go wrong, Climate Roots and Justice is only available to people who placed into Spanish 303. So if you've had 1 or 2 years of Spanish, you're likely not going to be a 303 placement in Spanish, so you wouldn't want to apply to that one. The rest are open to anyone, and in all of the learning communities, every single course counts toward gen ed requirements. So it's not like you're wasting a course because they all count for gen eds. When you're ready, complete the brief application right here. It's very simple. And you are going to say, yes, I'm interested. And you're going to say, I want this one and this one. I don't want the other one. And I can say that this is my first choice and this is my third choice. You don't need to write me a novel. I'm the person who administers learning community. So just generally kind of let me know I'm interested. This is why this matters. And then we'll go from there. We have a pretty good placement rate in learning communities. And if I have to place you in something other than your first choice, I'll confirm it with you before I do it. Or I'll say, I put you in your second choice. Is that okay? But it's a great thing to do. So again, from the July drawer, just go down to learning communities, not June, but July. Learning communities, read more, and you'll find everything there.
All right, I'm not seeing any other questions. So if you do have a question, please feel free to add it right now, so we can cover that. If not, then thank you for joining.
Please write us for help at advising@wofford.edu and write us from your Wofford email. But thank you all, and it will be a stressful few weeks ahead, and it's always a good thing to say that you will not get all the classes you want. We will make sure that you get the classes you need to graduate in 4 years with the major you hope to get. And so, like every college in America, you're not going to get all the classes you want in your first semester, or maybe your second, third semester too. We'll make it work.
All right, we're not seeing any other questions, so thank you for joining. We're going to go ahead and end. Have a good day.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.